Hello everyone, how's it going? Good to see you. Well, we're going to play a video that we're going to be doing today on how do we plan for flights within Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, 2020, X-Plane, whatever you use, it's exactly the same way. And also this is basically transitions into using VATSIM as well. Um, because on VATSIM, there's specific procedures you need to follow and all that sort of thing. So it fits in well with if you use VATSIM, but if you don't use VATSIM, absolutely fine. It doesn't really matter. But it's a good way of actually knowing what you would do in the real world. So yeah, let's get started. So a couple of things we need to know, right? Within VATSIM, I like to use real world flight numbers. Um, and also using particular things like flight radar, knowing what runways will be in use, and all that sort of thing. Okay, sometimes the winds will be very calm, so it's not always going to be the runway that you expect. So it's always just a matter of getting the information you need. So there's a couple of things. I use what's called Flight Aware. I'll put all the links into the description below on what I use. So basically, you can see up here, I've got Flight Aware, Flight Radar 24, and then I've got my SimBrief. Okay, so we'll go through all that in terms of what we do. So if we go into SimBrief, and in SimBrief, what we want to do is we go into flight tracking. Okay, left hand side we go to flight tracking, and today I want to plan a flight from Auckland to Wellington. Okay, so I'll put the ICAO code in. If you're not too sure what the ICAO code is, just use Google as your friend. Alright, so, and then I'm going to put Wellington in, which is NZWN. Alright, I'll just go search until that comes up, and there's all your flights that are happening. So you've got flights that will be happening in the future, and what current flights either are en route or have arrived. Alright, I've already chosen one. I'm going to take New Zealand 429. Okay, so I click on that one, and then I can see what gate I want to go to. So because I like using real world procedures and what they used on those particular flights, where it's got gate 29, and by this we should be arriving at gate 16. But in saying that, on VATSIM things could change. Okay, that gate 16 is not always going to be available when you arrive, so obviously you're going to have to choose a different gate. So it doesn't really matter. Alright, this flight's expected to depart in about 1 hour 34 minutes. Okay, so we've got that. Alright, so we're going to take New Zealand 429. Next thing we want to do is we'll go to Flight Radar 24. Okay, this is Flight Radar 24, and we can see a number of flights that are departing. Okay, or have arrived. We've got New Zealand 6201. Alright, and we can see down here, if we zoom in on the map, I can see runway 23 left is in use. Okay, we do need to know what the winds are currently doing. Okay, when we go through SimBrief, I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so we can see runway 23 left is in use. If we then go down to Wellington, we want to go all the way down to Wellington. All right, okay, Wellington. So we can see we've got New Zealand 885 Lima. Okay, that's landing on runway 16. We can tell that runway 16 will be in use. However, again, this could change just due to the wind conditions on arrival. So we need to keep that in mind. But it's good to know what runway will be in use on arrival, so that you can start planning. Okay. So next thing we want to do is we go to SimBrief. Okay, so we can go to SimBrief. Sorry, 2 seconds. Let's get that SimBrief. And then from SimBrief, this is SimBrief, and what we want from SimBrief is our dispatch system. Okay, obviously you do need a subscription to for Navigraph, because this has all your charts and all that sort of thing. Okay, so to get there, all we do is we go dispatch system, and we just wait for that to come up. Alright, this is my last flight that we did last night on the stream, so I don't want that one. I want to create a new one. Alright, so all we do is we go create new flight. Okay, and then from there we want to put in our information. Okay, so We are, as I said, there's a couple of information that we need in here. So airline, Air New Zealand, so ANZ for Air New Zealand. If you're using like EasyJet, it's EZY, British Airways, BAW, and so on and so on and so on. You can actually get all those ICAO codes from Google to help you out. Okay. The other thing you can use FlightAware if you need to as well. That does have. If we went back to FlightAware, you can see here. Where is it? Here. So just make sure you guys can see that. Yes, you can. Perfect. So we can see up here ANZ 429. Same thing again. If any other airline, normally it will be up the top there. All right. So yeah. So that's that one. So we've got New Zealand 429. So we select that one, and then we go. We're departing Auckland, and then we're going to Wellington. Okay. I don't want it auto. Well, I can keep this auto if I wanted to. All right. But I'm just going to come back um, to Auckland if need be. Okay. So what we need then to do is select the aircraft. So I want to go to here. So we're flying an A320. All right. There's different types of aircraft that you can choose from. Heaps and heaps and heaps. Um, there's obviously the one we have been flying is the A220. You've also got other Airbus types like the A350-900, which we flew on our long haul flight for Cathay Pacific. So we can do that as well. But in this particular one, we want the A320. So we go A320, and then we just go down to here. I've saved a couple. All right. So I am going to just select the one I've saved. However, you need to select the right engine type. This is very, very important, okay? Because if you select the wrong one, different types of engine types use different types of fuel loads, okay? Um, so if you do select the IAE Sharklet, which is the one I'm using, however, if you've got the IAE without the Sharklet, your fuel loading will be a little bit different. So be a little bit careful with that because it does replicate with the Phoenix that the Sharklets do burn less fuel. Okay, so we want to select that one. All right, but select that one, and then you can actually change um, the actual. If we go down to here, so you can go more options, and you can change the registration. Okay, in there to what aircraft you want to fly. So for this little thing, I am going to go back to the one I've saved, and then it's got the Oscar X-ray Mike. Okay. Now, this is very important as well. We need a cost index. You can leave this as default if you wanted to. You can leave this on auto, not a problem. However, a good one to use for the A320, especially with domestic operations, is 25. Or you can use 15. 15 or 25, it's okay. Usually 25, if a higher cost index, it is quite good for speed and time on arrival and that sort of thing. So it's quite a good thing. So we've got that. Now, if you're flying international, very, very important for VATSIM, put in your your SALCAL code. You can get that either from the aircraft or you can actually find it on Google. Very, very simple. But because we're flying domestic operations, we don't need a SALCAL code. But that's very, very important if you are flying internationally. Okay. From there, what we do is we want to go down to so all this information is already in. Make sure you've either got it on kilograms or pounds. If you are flying in the US, make sure it is on pounds. If you are flying like I am in New Zealand, if you're in Australia or even the UK, make sure you use kilograms. If you've got the wrong one towards what the aircraft has, your fuel and weights are going to be completely different, and it might, be a bad flight for you. All right, you might not have the right amount of fuel. So yeah, very, very important. Down to fuel planning, very important what we do. We need to put as our reserve. Now on VATSIM, it's wise to take about 45 minutes. However, if it is a busy event, probably would suggest taking about 60 minutes of extra fuel for a reserve. So I'm going to take 45 minutes. It's absolutely fine. This is the legal requirement, 45 minutes anyway. Different countries do have specific legal requirements for IFR flying. But 45 minutes is what we'll take. So you can see here it's already put in the departure runway, so we've got runway 23 left, arrival runway 16, okay? And then down here is all the information that we need for the departure. So we're going to be departing out of the Lavra 2, sorry, start again. Lavra to Papa departure with an IGBAT transition, okay? You can down here select the different routes in here. Some of them do have real world routes, some of them have, you can see here it's got VATNZ or VATSIM, which is a good one. So make sure you select the right one. The to Papa 4 Bravo arrival for Wellington, make sure you select the type of arrival that you're going to need for. If you're going to do an ILS approach, it's always best to do the T Papa 4 Bravo arrival, um, or whatever star that's applicable for you. But because if you select the wrong one, so as an example down here, VATSIM one, it's got the Te Papa 3 Delta arrival. Okay, that's an RNAV particular star arrival. Be very, very careful with that one. Okay, but I want to shoot the ILS approach, so I want to get the Te Papa 4 Bravo arrival with that one. Okay, so I've now got that, so happy days. And then from there, that's pretty much all we need to do on here. Alright, there's really nothing else. And then all we can then do is if we go down to, sorry, 2 seconds, yep. You can see here it's now drawn our route, okay? And then what we can do is we can do different types of things. So we can actually go weather forecast. So this is very, very good for your planning, okay? It doesn't look like it's going to do it for me. Okay. Oh, it's the airport forecast. Sorry. Yeah, my mistake. So if you click on Auckland, we've got the weather information. Okay. This will be in your flight plan, your actual flight plan. But this is a good way to actually see what the winds are doing in Auckland. So to read this, there's no decoding that you can do. I will suggest if you want to, you can use Google to decode this, but obviously I know how to decode METARs. So that's the time that was issued, okay, and the date. You've got auto generation, and then the winds are 220 at 9, visibility greater than 10 kilometers, clouds few 3,100, temperature 17, dew point 13, QNH 1007. Okay, very, very important, and it does tell you at what time the weather is going to change. So if you're doing a long haul flight, this is quite handy. Okay, you can see here at 14:23 Zulu. Oh, hang on, sorry, is that? Yeah. You can see here that the winds are going to be changing 2208, and the clouds are going to be scattered at 5,000. You get it down here. It's going to be coming 22015, gusting 25 knots. And then there's a couple of other things as well. You've got light showers in the area. We do have showers forecast for later on in the day, but we'll be well gone by then. Tempo, there is a tempo out broken at 1,400 and a tempo out visibility reducing to 6,000 meters in showers and rain. Okay, so that's that one. You can also do that for Wellington as well if you like. So if we can go down to Wellington, and you can actually select Wellington's weather. Winds 210 at 10, visibility greater than 10 kilometers, broken at 300, overcast 700. That's going to be definitely an ILS approach. Temperature 12, dew point 11, QNH 1011. You can see here all the tempo information. There is fog forecast. I think it's for tomorrow morning. Or is that later on anyway? Looks like later on. And the winds, oh god, it's going to be 180 at 20, gusting 30 knots. Visibility at 6,000 meters with rain, overcast 700. So the weather in Wellington's not great. So I'm going to have an awesome time shooting that approach. I won't do that in this video though, but this video is just showing how we do flight planning. Okay, so I'm also going to show you how to in the aircraft on how to put everything into the into the McDo, so we can easily do that as well. We can also go to the weather radar. Okay, we can actually have a look. So you can see here out towards this area here, you've got some cloud. On the weather radar. Nothing really showing down here at Wellington, which is a bit of a surprise. You've got SIGMETs, you've got everything that you need. You can even have a look at see if there's any icing forecast. Okay. Doesn't look like there's any icing that we've got that I can see. I might just get rid of the weather radar. But we've got different types of information. We've got visibility as well. Big shot of red up the top there, so that's not great, but we won't get any of that, I don't think. Yeah, this is very, very handy. So we're finished with that now. So all we go is we now go to generate. So we wait for all that to generate now. Okay, done. So all the information that you need now is all in here. Okay, so you got flight maps. You can have a look at your flight maps if you wanted to. Have a look at the winds. This is actually in the aircraft anyway on the tablet, but you can get it from SimBrief if you don't have the aircraft that is capable of showing you the tablets. You got the winds are quite strong down here. Looks like there might be a little bit of crosswinds, which might be interesting. Okay, got ATC flight plan. You got everything in here that you need. So it's a very, very cool application to use. You can also view it via the PDF if you wanted to. So we can actually have a look at it on the PDF. So the PDF is all here. This will be all in the aircraft anyway, but this is all your information that you're going to need. We'll discuss that once we get into the aircraft. You've got 159 packs on board today, which is pretty cool. Nice. But yeah, this is all you've got your information. So if you go down to the bottom though, you've got our route. Okay, exactly what you saw before. So we can select that. And then from there, we've got the winds. So winds at 390 are quite strong. Not too bad down at 340. So yeah, or 300. Okay, winds are quite good. Not too bad at all. But they do get a little bit worse as we get down to Wellington. Alright, so that's that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the aircraft. We're going to show you how to put all this into the aircraft. Alright, so what we want to do, we are now in the aircraft. And I'm just going to turn off a couple of windows. Don't want that one, don't want that one. Nice. Alright, so we're now in the aircraft and we want to do a couple of things here. So we're going to the tablet, to the Phoenix, and that's now taken everything from SimBrief, okay? It's already linked. If it doesn't link and you've only just got the aircraft, it'll tell you that you need to link your SimBrief. But you can do that through, I think you can do that through the Sim settings. Or is it through, actually it's through here. And you can do it through here. So if you just go into here and into the settings here, you can actually link all your information in there. Alright? So yeah, easy. So we go back to my flight. And then what we need to do is we need to put, we're going to open all the doors. Alright, and then I'm going to start the APU. I usually count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Start. And wait for the APU to start. You can see it counting up. The door is actually opening on the back of the, on the APU for the inlet. Alright, so you can see it powering up. Alright, so that's now that done. What we do need to do now is we go to the McDo. We can clear all this. And we go inert. So that one. And what we then need to do is we need to, hang on, I'll zoom in so you guys can see it. What we do need to do, two ways of doing this. You can either put all the information in manually, or you can go inert request. Okay, so we go inert request, wait for that to come in. That now comes in. So we got Auckland to Wellington. Okay, and then all we do is we put all the information that we need. So if we then go back to here, and then we click on this little one with the captain's hat, we click on that one, you can see here all the information that you're going to need throughout the flight. So we're going to be cruising flight level 340. Okay, so I normally just put it in now. If you are doing other some countries obviously do a initial climb altitude, but in New Zealand we don't normally have that. It's just straight up to cruise. However, if you're doing an international flight from New Zealand, you normally would put flight level 250 in there. But since we're doing domestic, you can put in flight level 340. Okay? So, what we do need to do is we put in the information that we need. So we're New Zealand 429. So we go 429, put that in to there, and we put our cost index in. So you can do that as well from here. So get that information from there. You've got our cruise CI. So CI is your cost index. It's 25. So you put that in. So 25. And we discussed before that we'll be cruising flight level 340. So we just put that into there. Sorry, you can see that my rudders are playing up there, but that'll get fixed soon. Flight level 340, all done, and we want the outside air temperature, which is plus 17. So we go 17, done. And then all we need to do is we go down to here, we go click on the flight plan, and we go to Auckland, departure, and we're departing out of runway 23 left as we saw before. So 23 left, and we're departing out of the Lavra 2 departure. So you can get that from your flight plan if you need to. We just go into your route section, and you've got the Lavra 2 departure IGBAT transition. So we go Lavra 2 depart, and we're going via IGBAT. Okay, we confirm that, IGBAT. Okay, then we click on insert. Now, because this is a very, very short flight, I just like to put in the arrival. But again, this could change, but it's good to get it done so you don't have to do it later on. So I'm going to go on the ILS 16. Sorry, it was 16. Yep, 16. So you can see here. So runway 16. Alright, so I'm going to take the Yankee. So we put that in, and we're coming in on Te Papa. So be very, very careful what you select, okay? If you take the 3 Delta, remember, that's an RNAV, so we don't want that. We want the 4 Bravo. Okay, 4 Bravo, insert, and that's now in. Alright, so what we then can do is we go to the charts. So again, you need a Navigraph subscription to have a look at all this. I've got the unlimited subscription. So for our flight planning, we need to know that, have a look at the charts, okay? Remember, we're at stand 29, okay? So from stand 29, we need to look at the ground chart. You can see it's already in my favorites, so I can select that. So I go to the airport information chart, and we're at stand 29. So because 23s are in use, normally if it's VATSIM, if you're on VATSIM, you'll be given a taxi clearance. If there's no ATC online, normally what we'll do is you'll be able to just choose where you need to go. So we'll be pushing back nose out towards the right, and I'm probably going to be taking Bravo 5 and Alpha, but we can normally go along Bravo 1, we can then go via Alpha 2, okay, because it's a relatively short flight, so we're not going to need a full-length departure. Remember, if you are fully loaded with fuel, make sure that you do take the full length, okay? If you are very heavy, you can easily check that. If we go back to here, if you go down to your weights, okay, you can look at your takeoff weight. So 65.5, we can take a maximum of 66.5 for our takeoff weight, so we're well under, so we can go via Alpha 2. Alright, and then, yeah, so all that is there. So, from there, so we'll take Alpha 2 for departure. So we'll just go, maybe what we'll do is we'll go via Bravo 2, Alpha 2. Okay? This is very, very handy to have up on when you're taxiing, so that you know where you're going, especially with big airports like Gatwick, Heathrow, Sydney as an example, Melbourne. Those are pretty big airports, so you'll be able to sort of get a good sense on where you need to go. Alright, next thing we need to have a look at is our departure. So we go down to departure, and then what we need to have a look at is if we go down to Lavra 2 Papa departure, select that one. We have a look at the chart, and we need to know what restrictions that we have for departure. I always like to check the chart number as well, 10-3 November, which is effective 28th of November. Okay, and you can see here we've got transition altitude 13,000. Transition level in New Zealand is flight level 150. Okay, and then this is the runway 23 left one, so we've got that one. It's totally different for 05 right, okay, which is the other runway. Alright, we know this is Cat, we're a Cat C aircraft, okay, we've got Cat A, B, C and D, we're Cat C. And we can see here what restrictions that we need, or what we've got. So, we're departing out of runway 23 left, we've got IRSIP, so if we go, the same thing happens again with that guy always popping up. We're going via IRSIP, Lavra, Karpai. So if we go back here, Karpai, and then Igbat. Okay, Igbat. If we go down to here, Igbat. Okay, so it's a good way of knowing which way do you need to go. We're not going this way. All right, don't look at that. Always, we're going down to Wellington, so this is the direction that we need to go. Okay, you can also down here. You can look down here because we're going via Igbat. We can have a look at this. So it says from Lever track 168 degrees to Karpai, then turn left track 161 to Igbat. Okay, if we're going direct to Karpai, it's pretty simple. You go via from Lever track 168 to Karpai. It's pretty easy. If you're going via Tolmi, remember Tolmi is not our direction, but that's just tells you which way you need to do it. Okay, so this is the SID that we've got. From there, you can also have a look at, if you want to, you can also have a look at your approach if you need to come back. Won't do that. But if you then go into Wellington, I'll show you what you need to do for Wellington once you're doing your planning for your arrival. We need to have a look at the arrival. Alright, so we're going via Te Papa. Alright, so this is the 4 Bravo. Okay, so Te Papa and Wards 4 Bravo. But we're going via Te Papa. So we select that one. So we are coming in via Te Papa. So above 5,000, maximum 220 via Hewitt, and then we can track inbound via Whitby, and then straight into for runway 16. Okay, you can easily have a look down here. Same thing. From Te Papa, track 150 to Bruda, cross Bruda at or above 5,000. Track 107 to Hewitt, cross Hewitt at or above 6,000, and then maximum 220 knots. Track 070 to Whitby, cross Whitby at or above 3,000 feet. Excuse me. So you can see there, minimum descent altitude will be 3,000 feet. You can have a look at that on the arrival. So if we then go, we can then have a look at. If we go to the approach chart. Okay. Now, we're coming on via the Yankee approach runway 16. If you're coming in via runway 34, all your charts are in there. Just select the appropriate chart that you need. So runway 16. Alright, now we need to know a couple of things here. We've got chart 11-2, and we know this is the ILSDME Yankee, localizer Yankee for runway 16. A couple of things that we need to know is our missed approach if we have to do a go around. Maximum 185 knots, track 168, runway centerline to Ubdim, or to Ubim, sorry, and then it'll be 2.0 DME out of Wellington. Okay, so you can easily do that when you do when you put your VOR on here. You can see the distance that you need to track outbound. Okay, and then it'll be turn left track on the 158 radial on the Wellington VOR to mandatory climb at 3,000 feet, and then you can expect radar vectors from ATC. So normally with within VATSIM, you don't need to worry. You'll be given radar vectors to rejoin for the ILS approach, or you can join in visually. Okay, either you can come back on the ILS, or you can just do a visual approach, depending on what the weather is doing it, of course. Okay, we know here, as I spoke about before, you got your transition level, very, very important. Flight level 150, very, very important to make sure you select the right QNH at flight level 150. You've got to remember different countries do have different flight level or transition levels. In America, it's flight level 180. I think in the UK, it's like 7,000 from what I hear. So, yeah, transition altitudes when you're climbing outbound or climbing up, and transition levels when you're coming back down. Alright, a couple of other things we need to know is our minimum descent altitude. You've got initial descent down to 3,500 feet, but then it will come down to 3,000. So we would actually put in 3,000 feet for the minimum descent altitude via Whitby. Okay? So that's what we will put in there. Another thing we need to know is our minimum descent, our minimums. So in order for our decision whether we need to go around, we would put 300 feet for our minimums. Okay? Depending on what the visibility is doing, 1,500 meters, which we know we do have 1,500 meters at the moment, we would put 300 feet. Anything that we need to below 300 feet, you are committed. You do if the winds are really strong. Once you touch down, just go around. Very, very important. So if it's above 300 feet, we'll make a decision if we have to go around. Okay? So that is pretty much it. I won't go through any other information here. That's pretty much the basics of setting up your flight plan, loading it in, and knowing what to do. So yeah, pretty easy. I do hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, comment below. I'm more than happy to help. And yeah, I will see you again on another video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.